Hey, Wedgwood family, here we are, Patrick and Casey, with another week of disciple-making parents. And this week, we're continuing what was part 2 of skillful communication with your children, keeping the heart connected with your conversation. So we're going to be talking about a lot of topics today. Some of them are just, how do you speak to your child?
Yeah.
How do you maybe get on to them, discipline them? Do you use a lot of words? Or do you make it specific words and then specific consequences? But we're not talking as much consequences. We're mainly focusing on communication and how you communicate.
You know, what's interesting is like the last couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about, taking advantage of the opportunities that we have.
Right.
This week, we want to talk about what do we use our mouth? Like, how do we use our tongue? How do we begin to encourage and talk to our child and do what God's called us to do? So here's the big question is like, do we ask good questions? Was one of the things that we asked last week, right?
Do we ask good questions?
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And this is probably a bad example. Actually, this is a bad example of a question. How's your week been?
Good.
Good? That's it?
Yeah.
That's all I get?
Yeah.
See, I mean, that's the point there. Is that
No,
we're not
wait.
trying to...
How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah, see? I usually say fine.
Fine?
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by that.
And then we just keep on going.
That's right. See, that's the passing. It's almost just a greeting nowadays.
Yeah.
And the whole goal of this is to get past that good, bad, or fine, or all right kind of answer. We want to begin to ask, maybe an easy question would be, hey, on a week, a scale of 1 to 10, how's your week been?
Yeah, probably like a 6.
Really? Why is that?
Well, there's been some good, but there's also been some challenges that I've faced. Right?
And see, that right there is an example of kind of what this skillful communication this week is going to be talking about. So us as parents, we're really the shepherds of our children. And so we're the ones who are trying to guide them. We're trying to lift them up and exhort them biblically. And so that means pouring scripture into them.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing that. We're trying to comfort. We're trying to correct. And we're trying to rebuke everything. So these are a lot of big topics. Am I going too fast?
Yeah, I got to stop you because I think this is kind of towards the end of the chapter, but to me, it hit me is like, I'm just a tired parent. Do I really have to do these things? Because I'm just exhausted. I don't know. Are any of you exhausted?
Oh, man.
Because when we're exhausted, I don't think we do these things at all, really.
I think you're right. I think we actually respond more in anger
right.
whenever we're exhausted.
So if we could just start off with recognizing we probably all have a lot going on. We're all tired as parents. If you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, you're probably tired.
Yeah, you see these bags under my eyes?
That's right.
I'm tired, man.
So, but the problem is we can't let when we're tired, when we worked all day, impact, bring that home in how we speak to our kids, how we ask them questions. And I know one thing about males versus females is males can have like a limit of words. And when you hear all that, when your word count gets mashed out, it's time to be done.
That's one thing I've had to learn, specifically like in this last week. I have been trying to be more intentional with that. Of when I max out my words, I'm home, I'm exhausted.
Right.
I just have to pause, and I actually call my wife in. So I say, "Hey, Nicole, please come here," and I just sit there and I just stay quiet. And honestly, with mainly my 2-year-old right now, she's able to kind of communicate what's going on. But that helps. Well, one thing I've learned is that helps me at least begin that process of not responding in anger. Because, like, what does responding in anger look like?
Man, I think a couple of things I know that I can do at times is, like, something happens and I want to correct, but instead of, like, finding out what happened, why it happened, and then speaking to it, I kind of just blow up. Like, are you kidding me? This just happened. Why'd this happen? Oh my goodness, I can't let you guys believe you guys did this. Y'all, Daddy doesn't like this. Why would And then I think they already feel like demoralized, cut down, and I know that I feel it too. But then I've already gotten so far down that road, I can't turn around.
That's right.
So what are some things? What are some ways that we can speak to our kids? What are some things that we can do?
Some ways that we can speak to our kids, and some of the things we can do is, well, when it comes to being angry, I think, taking a pause. I feel like I've actually learned from some of our, now what I'm thinking about, what I actually tell my 2-year-old, when when you feel so mad. What's that? Is it Daniel Tiger or something?
Daniel Tiger, right.
Yeah, but
count to 4.
Yeah, the whole point of it is to count to 4, to take a breather before you respond out of anger.
Right.
And so, we tell our kids that, but we have to actually follow that own advice.
Right.
So that's one of the things. And then, I would say just take a step back, because, a lot of times whenever we're angry, what happens is we either blow up and respond in that rage,
right,
or, a part of our personality could be we just respond sarcastically, or we can make a cutting remark that, we'll talk about breaking a relationship or beginning to do that.
What is that called? Sometimes that's called passive aggressive.
Oh, yeah,
You
absolutely.
just constantly refer to the laundry that doesn't get put away, or the clothes on the floor, and then, they feel frustrated.
Absolutely. And then, your child can totally see the irritation. Your wife can, or your spouse, whether you're, and so there's a lot that goes into that. So I think that really just taking a second and going, okay, how big is this moment?
Right.
Because, my day has been filled with all of these issues. And right now I'm under a lot of stress, whether that be because of COVID things or, work is just ramping up. There's so many things that go on in our lives that can add this stress. But we don't want to be taking that on our families. And the thing is I don't think we ever really intend to do that. But sometimes we react, and that's the tough part.
So I think some of the things, again, I would encourage us to do is try to empower and encourage and strengthen your kids with the words that you use. That takes, again, I know we've talked about this a bunch of weeks, intentionality and thinking through, okay, when something happens, I need to stop, but then what do I need to say?
That's right.
Yeah, so thinking about how do I empower my child. And so instead of maybe for example, we use clothes all over the floor or shoes all over the house or whatever it is, instead of griping about it around the house, look for a good opportunity, ask them to do it. And that's on the positive side versus, just using our words to kind of tear down. Use our words to empower and to encourage and strengthen and give responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that switches out the negativity for positivity.
That's right, man. And you're really urging them and you're challenging them maybe past what they're even comfortable with. And so that's a growth moment. But you're also comforting them in the same way. I'm almost thinking of a discipleship kind of mentality and relationship a lot of times. Because, they're specifically in that example of clothes being on the floors, you can go grab something and say, hey, specifically with my little girl, hey, Piper, can you grab that with me and bring this over here? And we're going to do this together. And over time, kind of continue to challenge them and raise the stake there for them to be able to be a part of this.
Yeah, because no matter what age your child is, one question that you could ask yourself is, in the moment I responded the way I did, is that how I want my child to remember me? Because that could be referred to as angry parent or a frustrated parent or a tired parent. Do I really want my child, to remember some of those moments? And do I want to respond? Is that my best self, even in my tired self?
No,
and so,
that's the tough part about that is I think we said already, is that's where we can begin to have some of that broken relationship. And so really with this, we just want to encourage you to make sure that we're lifting our kids up and comforting them during the times that they need, because sometimes they know what they did is wrong, and really ultimately it is sin. Whenever we sin against each other, we also sin against God. And so leading examples is part of admitting that we've wronged. Now, this isn't the first time we've had that conversation of saying we are the example to our kids, and so we need to admit when we're wrong. So if we do respond in angry, apologize. That's right.
Admit it.
And that's actually interesting you say that, because that is a big part of what the next section is going to talk about. And so the next section here is restoring broken heart connections. And so this next section is really going to be talking about really the difference between I'm sorry and I forgive you. And so that's a major difference in how culture talks about that. Right. But as far as today, when it comes to skillful communication, it has a lot to do with, we're going to take the opportunity because we're going to learn from part one. And then when part two, we want to lift our kids up and not be knee-jerk and respond out of anger. We want to comfort them. We want to admonish them, and warn them for things that are coming up. There is a time of correction and even a time for rebuke. But I would say let's look at that and not just be one tool in our belt. That's one of the things that actually we talked about in the chapter was having, whenever you only have one tool, that's all you're going to use. And we really want to have a plethora of tools. And so we can do different jobs and we can begin to build a relationship. And then they would know how to really communicate with us. So
Yeah, so speaking of tools, I mean, if this might be one of your first weeks, you might not know really what we're talking about. And to
That's
me,
right.
this is a great tool. Disciple Making Parent is the book we're using by Chap Bettis. And so if you've just been joining us this week or maybe last week and you're still like, what book? You know, this is a great tool to pick up because this is the book we're using to just have these discussions together. And so again, maybe you've been joining us all the weeks and you never got the book. It's a great thing to pick up or give as a gift, because I know as a parent, I'm learning so much from hearing and reading and then even discussing every week on this video, just how to be myself a little bit better parent every week.
You know, it's funny because it's, you know, it's challenging us, but it's also urging us, and it's also comforting us a little bit,
Right.
of knowing that we're not alone in this together. So it's funny how this book has been such an encouragement to us in that way, really going forward, so that we can begin to disciple our kids in a more intentional manner,
Right.
one that is not reactive,
Yeah.
but proactive.
Absolutely.
And so today, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation. So I would love to hear from you in your comments. What are some skillful communication tips that you have for us? And so if you will, since this is a YouTube video and Facebook videos, just put it in the comments below. And I'd love to see some encouragement, really, to, hey, this has worked for us. And, you know, this is something that we do. And, you know, here's the other thing. Things aren't universal. But that one comment could encourage us and actually be something that we adopt as parents going forward. So next week, we're going to be talking about, in the Disciple Making Parent, how to really restore broken relationships. And so it's going to be a tough chapter, because when you have a broken relationship, trying to restore it is not a overnight process.
It sounds like it's going to be speaking a little bit more to maybe older children, or maybe even, you know, grown children.
That's right.
And
Usually
parents.
it's because it's a longer time period that's happened on this.
Right.
And so let's be skillfully in how we communicate now so that we don't have those broken relationships later.
That's right.
So guys, thanks again for watching this video, and we will see you again next week.